you'll need to join the Zoom link there. Okay, so I think that's about enough intro. I'm gonna intro you guys a little bit later on. Like I said, we have Steph, Jordan, and Mark from Marmoset, and Pablo. I think he'll be rejoining in just a moment. But I'm gonna share my screen really quickly because we just have a couple of Realision promo stuff, promo things to go through, and then I'll hand over the reins to Mark, and he'll introduce himself and his Marmoset crew, give us a little bit of promo about what's going on, and then Pablo will take over and show you all the good stuff, the workflow. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. Um, there we go. I don't have any media to show really. I want to mention for all of you who may be associated with a school, if you're a student or a teacher, make sure you check out our Global Training Center here. I'm going to put this link in the chat window for everyone. Make sure you check out our Global Training Center, and we will be basically giving you a 60% discount if you're a student or a teacher. Please make sure you check out this place here because that's the biggest discount we offer. We just throw that in the chat window for everyone here. Make sure it's to everyone. We got Karsten from Denmark. Welcome, Karsten. I guess it's pretty early in the morning, late at night there. So thanks for joining us anyways. We have people from all over the world. Yeah, sticking it out over there in Denmark. Hopefully, I won't say anything about Denmark right now. It's a kind of a hot button issue, it seems. But yeah, we'll check out that link in the chat that I sent for everyone. If you're a student or a teacher, get that discount. Make sure you check it out. We also have a free semester program as well. If you want to check that out on the same page there, you can. If you're a teacher and you want to kind of give your students the experience of Real stuff, check out our free semester stuff. You can just apply here, and you'll be talking to me, and I'll set you up with a free semester of all of our Real software. As well, in case you're not aware, if you go to the Realision site and you go to purchase, let me get the Zoom thing out of the way, software store, we have now started offering a subscription-based service as an option to our perpetual, as an alternative to our perpetual licenses. So on the software store, you can go over here to subscription, and you can check out all of these single subscription packages. So if you're, doing a small project, you don't need the software for a long time. We hope you do, but if you don't, you can always check out these subscription-based services, and that goes by a month-to-month basis. All right, and yeah, this is the webinar outline. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it if you signed up for today's webinar. Again, we're very lucky and privileged to have the Marmoset crew with us, as well as Pablo, who's going to be kind of demoing the whole workflow here. So I'm going to hand over the reins to you, Mark, if you want to introduce yourself and your crew. Maybe share with us some stuff about Marmoset, and we can over to Pablo.
Yeah, certainly. That sounds great. Yeah, thank you, Kai. Yeah, so no, he gave me the brief intro already. Yeah, I'm Mark Doden. I'm one of the co-founders here at Marmoset. Um, yeah, and on the panel today too, we brought in a couple artists from our team, from the Marmoset team as well, Steph Everett and Jordan Kane. You guys feel free to unmute, say hello. Uh, and yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet on our side tonight. Really, yeah, Pablo has all the fun stuff he's going to be diving into for us. But yeah, just want to kind of give a heads up. Like, yeah, as we get to the Q&A session later, I have brought in Steph and Jordan with me here. They're the much more experienced artists, so if any questions get in the weeds of Marmoset Toolbag and its features, they'll be happy to help help in and help me out and answer any questions that may pop up. Uh, and yeah, I guess yeah, I'll just have actually, yeah, Kai, is that okay if do I have permission to share my screen as well?
Yeah, I think you should be able to
Okay.
share your screen, no problem.
Okay,
See if
I'll
it
get that
works.
set up really quick here.
Yeah, looks like you're good.
Okay. Uh, yeah, no, yeah, so a lot of the users here and viewers participating tonight and watch it later as well. A lot of you may be new to Marmoset Toolbag and what it can offer. So, if it's kind of experienced character creator and iClone users jumping in for the first time, or some of even our own longtime users who may have just, kind of revisiting the latest releases for the first time in a few years. I kind of want to help paint the picture of all the latest feature sets we brought into the Marmoset Toolbag software. And yeah, so as you see kind of on my screen share here, this is just kind of our trailer for our latest release. We're currently on our fifth generation of Marmoset Toolbag. For the longest time, the core of what we offered was just a really pick up and play, user-friendly tool for look dev, kind of staging, final rendering, creating those beautiful portfolio shots, studios wanting to do some marketing shots of kind of their characters. But fast forward a decade plus, we've been building this thing every generation we get here. And so, yeah, I was going to kind of walk through and paint the picture of like what Marmoset Toolbag can do for you as the artist. And yeah, I'll try to switch. Yeah, just starting in here. We'll drop a link later in the chat as well. But yeah, quite simply, starting on our homepage here, marmoset.co. This is yeah, you can find everything you need to, kind of satisfy your appetite for how much you want to dive deep into Toolbag. Uh, Really, once you have your base measure model from your Max, Maya, Blender, or even, of course, your high-res sculpts out of ZBrush as well, Marmoset Toolbag really aims to be that kind of all-in-one, one-stop solution for the rest of your art production pipeline. Um, so just kind of diving in here, kind of all those core workflows every artist will interact with at some point in time on any project. Scene editing, texture baking, texture painting, of course, our core renderer. And, we even offer, newer additions to the platform as well as we have a full curated asset library that's available to all users and you'll see it dive into our viewer, which is just an easy way to take all your content from your Toolbag scene file and export it to a browser-friendly WebGL format that can be viewed on any mobile or desktop browser natively without any extra plugins. So I'm gonna jump through a couple of the workflow sets here. And then, yeah, I'll just take about another minute here and we'll get this passed off to Pablo to jump in. As core Toolbags, the core of what's always been as a render and look dev tool is, of course, that scene editing capabilities. So, it's whether it's a singular asset or you're creating this whole vignette or full complete scene, full scene management tools, asset library to manage your individual assets, save them for reuse later. All those core functionalities are built in there, ready to get you started to set up your scene. Uh, yeah, and from there, this has sort of been I'd say like our industry standard feature set. Whether, uh, yeah, it's our texture baking engine, the GPU powered real-time interactive texture baker. You can pretty much, yeah, bake any sort of map you may need. All the industry standard map types are supported, a variety of file formats, custom channel packing options for whatever your output configuration needs to look like for whether it's a game engine you're going into or another target renderer for all the final production work. Uh, but yeah, it's got some really cool feature sets built in where by default you're in an interactive mode. So whatever you set your bake project to be, however many with full UDIM support as well, if you're making really high fidelity assets with a lot of UV tiles, your entire map set that's baking is baking in real time as you work. So all the results you get are nearly instantaneous. And you can adjust and see the real-time results on the fly as you're working directly in the viewport. Which yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of people have used this as kind of as their mainstay for many years now. More recently, with our version 5 release, we've introduced a bevel shader and a very common Jordan, who's on the panel tonight, very awesome hard surface artist who's been doing a lot of work with showcasing our bevel shader, the baking capabilities of baking that bevel detail. So whether you're baking traditional high to low or just kind of or you're just working directly from a low poly and want to bake some material data and this bevel shader data onto a normal map, basically, yeah, whatever your workflow demands, our baker can do it. I was gonna skip forward here. Texturing. This is one of our newer feature sets. We rolled this out with the fourth generation of Toolbag And we've been rapidly building every point release since then into version 5, adding more and more feature sets for our texture painting system. Um, Again, we have a complete set of texturing, texture painting tools and a powerful brush engine. That really, I guess I'll just say the emphasis of a lot of our tools we're adding in here with our texturing system is really letting users take a lot of that mundane, monotonous detail, like repetitive detail and really fine detail that you spend a lot of hours in the modeling phase, allowing you to move that into your texturing phase where you can be a lot more creative. You can the iteration and change requests you'll get from clients, from directors, whatever it may be, really lets you work a lot more non-destructively and change things up on the fly and not have to go back to that modeling stage and rebake and then re-import for texturing. And yeah, it's kind of, and of course, this is where we all started, like, our render engine. We have 3 render modes we fully support in Toolbag. Nice thing is, like Toolbag is this all-in-one software package where you can bake, texture, scene edit, like do your look dev process all in one. The nice thing is, like, even if you're working on a baking project or a texture painting project, you can work on those individual assets in your scene file along with the entire scene setup, and then easily flip between a traditional kind of game style raster renderer. We have a full path traced ray tracing render mode as well. And then most recently we added a third render type, which is just our hybrid render, which you've seen a lot of other engines have a very similar render approach where you can separate a lot of your lighting passes. So you can adjust different amounts to run independently denoise some of your global illumination and reflections and shadowing. And so you kind of get that smoother, more real-time experience with a lot of the image fidelity and quality that you'd get out of the full path traced rendering engine. Uh, and no, yeah, really, no, I just want to, yeah, I want to give you the kind of 5-minute crash course into all the possibilities that are contained within the Toolbag software. I know Pablo's going to kind of, yeah, he's going to really focus on some of that staging and presentation and final render tools that are available in there. So I guess, yeah, with that said, yeah, I'll kind of leave off there. I'll pass the reins over to Pablo to jump in.
Alrighty. Hey everyone, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good, Pablo.
Yeah,
Take her
sweet.
away.
I had some issues with the camera. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen because I just want to reinforce some of the things that was say about Marmoset. Hang on. All right, let me know when the screen is up.
Looks good for me.
Cool.
Looking good.
So this is like how long I've been using Marmoset, or more than this, but this was posted more than 10 years ago, like a very early tiny concept thing. And since then I've been using this type of things. This is the viewer. I believe it's been improved since 10 years ago, but it's still working totally fine. And you could see those sort of like passes as well. If I bring those, there we go. So all the bakes and all of that good stuff. This was textured in Painter, obviously, because before, I don't know how long ago it was introduced in Marmoset, but this was 10 years ago. So yeah, it's like a really fun way of displaying your projects and your portfolio pieces, not just a static image. It allows you to share it with clients or with your audience, and they can just like explore. You can limit how close you can get, and this one you cannot go underneath because literally there's no fit or anything, so you cannot go underneath. So those are really cool things that you can do straight away with any model, really. And just to give you an idea of the type of work that I do and the type of things that I've been playing with, let's say with Character Creator and Marmoset, I tend to do like these whimsical characters and creatures and things that tend to be realistic, but I push the stylization in the textures as well. So just want to show you another render. So this is something that I did recently, and it's all rendered in Marmoset. This is just a little video that I recorded from close-ups and different things. But this is literally one single HDR image that I chose that worked really well with the specific sort of like character and a little bit of post-processing, but that's it. It's just throwing in your model in there, rendering out, and then you get this result. Very briefly, a couple more things just that I rendered in Marmoset recently. This is more, tending towards the realistic, I would say, character. But all of this is from Marmoset. So those are all renders. This turntable, all of that is from Marmoset. So it's a really powerful tool to generate those final images, those beauty renders. Even things like this. It's a bit, like I said, more kind of like whimsical, kind of like cute character. I just jump between the more diabolic things and things like this. But this all, even the grass, all of that is Marmoset. I'll show you. Yeah. So you see the hair cards, let's say, or the single-sided planes with all these meshes. So that is the beauty paths that I created in Marmoset. And what I love about it is the fact that I can just rotate around, put some lights, see in real time what is happening. And that's how really I approach most of my final pieces. And what's great about all this, and the reason I'm showing you is because now I can combine it very easily with another tool that I absolutely love, which is Character Creator, and I've been using it for quite a while now. So what you see here on the screen is the, let me just do some. So this is Character Creator 5, the latest version. I think it should be the latest version. And this is one of the characters that I developed for the demo. So it's more of a creature sci-fi character. I'm just gonna play it. So he walks while we cover this. So yeah, a very, straightforward character, humanoid character, but it's not like your typical human. I try to push things with the facial expression or the wrinkles and all of that, plus the sci-fi suit. What's cool about all of this is that everything that you see in terms of the rigging is already done in Character Creator, because I don't have to re-rig anything. All I need to do is create the assets, the armor, if you will, and just add it on top. But another really cool thing about Character Creator is the new subdivision 2. So right now, if you look at my viewport, I have 2 subdivision levels. So that allows me to actually visualize these nice, the nice subdivision details of the character in the face. And, I took advantage of that for the suit as well. Let me just show you exactly what I mean. So if I remove the chest pieces and the glove bits, I'm just going to remove a bunch of stuff and these pads. Basically everything. So you see the suit underneath the character, that's actually the mesh from Character Creator. I can turn this on as well. It's pretty dense. Maybe not. But basically the wireframe or what you'll see here is essentially that of that comes with Character Creator. So all I've done is I took that base mesh and I did the textures, but I took advantage of that sort of subdivision and all the details that you see here. And this is baked into the actual body of the character. So it's kind of like having the entire skin material, but replaced with a suit. The reason I did that is because I wanted to push that sort of subdivision, new feature and get all of these nice wrinkles that you wouldn't be able to get, let's say, to deform the mesh unless you have that type of subdivision. Beforehand, what I used to do is just create those wrinkles with normal maps, and it would work fine if you take a shot from this distance. But if you get a little bit closer, you won't see the outline of the model. You won't see this type of deformation, which is what the viewport now, or the subdivision, allows you to have. So on top of that, I just added all these pieces that are separate meshes. And I think I didn't use the eyelashes or eyebrows. Just because this alien doesn't need it or doesn't have it, but that's it. This is the final character, and of course you have render capabilities here in CC4, and they're actually quite nice for kind of like real-time render. But when you have a dedicated tool like Marmoset, you can take advantage of that rendering tools and the ray tracing and generate something that looks a lot nicer. So the whole point of this is that you can now export this as a single FBX with a JSON file and use the official plugin in Marmoset to bring everything at once. The reason why this is important or really useful is because this character, for instance, or anything in CC5 would have a UDIMs. So this, let's say the texture maps, if I go here, you see I have the body, just the head has the color map, it has the normal map, the ambient occlusion, metallic, roughness, displacement. And if I choose something else, like let's say the legs, these are just the maps for the legs. So I end up with, I would say close to 100 maps if you count all of the maps that I have in here. And if I need to plug this in manually into Marmoset, it will just take a long time. But with the plugin, it allows you to just click once and then click twice, let's say, in Marmoset and bring everything. So that's what I'm going to cover. But I wanted to give you a little bit of context of, how I've been working. Just on a side note, because this is really fun. This is an animation, and this is from CC4. You can just sorry, CC5. I think it's CC4, CC5. And then you can just add it in here. But I can save some poses. So this is literally a digital puppet, right? So I can take this, I can go here to the pose tab. I can click on edit pose. That'll bring in this window here. I'm going to turn off those points there. And I can just select the area that I want, and I can adjust this pose even as the character is kind of like walking. Let's say lift this. So this is kind of like the final stage or the final step that I do when I have a character like this before I move into the render. Because obviously once it's in Marmoset, you cannot necessarily adjust the pose or the expression and things like that. So I make sure that the final pose is working. What's really cool about this as well is that you have a custom library, so you can save poses, you can save expressions. So I'll show you the ones that I did for the, so kind of like my final characters. So I have this, as you probably, one of the images that you saw in the images that we've been sharing around in social media and that sort of thing. So it saves the pose, right? But because it is the same rig, I have another pose that I saved, and I could just drop it in there and it gets updated straight away. So this is the character walking, and this is kind of like it's throwing a spell. So I'll show you the final one so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the first one that I just showed you. This is the one walking, and this is the final compositing of that. So these are all renders from Marmoset. I'm going to show you how I set this up, like in terms of the lighting and how it works. But just want to mention some of these things, like let's say the atmospheric mood and the background and this type of like effect. That's all done in post-production. As in, I take that into Photoshop and I just add some effects just because it is easier. However, the lighting in this case, like that sort of blue orb glow that he's kind of like conjuring, is coming from Marmoset. So that is, I'm going to show you how I set all that up as well. And in case you're curious about how I got to this stage of like having the character ready with a pose, ready to send to Marmoset, I do have a series on my YouTube channel, which is at Pablander channel. And tomorrow we're actually going to release the final video of the series, where I'm going to go step by step and I'm going to detail, similar to what I'm going to show you today, how I moved from CC5 to Marmoset with the plugin. So that video is dropping in tomorrow. So if you haven't, you can subscribe and just get notified. But basically, I'm going to show you a couple of images, literally 6 images, so that you have the full picture. This is what's covered anyway in the series. So I started with CC5 with a very generic body, and I edit that body all within CC5, send it to ZBrush, which is my preferred sort of like sculpting tool that you might be familiar with, just to add deformations and that sort of thing. And from that very basic humanoid character in ZBrush, I managed to move, let's say, from this face to this face, which is the final version. And you see I added all these wrinkles and all these details for the bodysuit within the base mesh. And then I did the hard surface bits as well in ZBrush, and those are like separate meshes, like I mentioned. Then I did the UVs, which I need for the extra bits. For the body, you don't need that because that's already using the UVs from CC5. But anything else extra that you add, any accessory, you'll have to you have to work on the UVs so that you have enough, or you have textures. You have UVs so that you can create textures later on. Finally, I generated all the bakes for all of that, created the textures. These are all the textures, in the viewport and in the render. And then finally, that's the final render. So this is the pose, and that's what I'm gonna be covering. Now, you might notice as well, like this character has a expression, and in this one, we don't have an expression. That's another thing that I like to do just before I go into the final render. So you can do that as well with CC5. You can just go here to edit facial. And I love this one. I sometimes waste a bit of time, to be honest. Because I just take something like the jaw and I start doing this. I'm moving it up and down, or um, close the eyes, change the expression, and you just need to select the things that you want. Let's say these two, and then press the middle mouse button to just push it out. But what's really amazing about this is, like, if you pay attention here to this A, to this eye here, you see how like it's generating those wrinkles as I do this. In fact, let's use the frown, because all of this can come through in the render in Marmoset. So it's nice to be able to play around with these things. So in terms of like adding expression, I think it's just a phenomenal tool. So you see all of these are dynamic wrinkles, meaning that there's a map with a bunch of normals for the wrinkles in the character already. This is not for this character, by the way. This is just the generic wrinkles. And just by moving this, you can generate that really nice expression. Having said that, you can create your own maps. And I have also an entire series covering how to create your own custom expression wrinkles, even for more stylized characters. So I'm not going to cover any of that. But the cool thing is you can also save expressions. So I'm going to give you the angry version. There we go. We have this more angry expression that goes with the pose. So all in all, that's generally what I focus on right before I move into the final render. So getting a pose that depicts what I want the character to be doing, and an expression in the face that matches that. It's just that doing everything with CC5 and the tools that are already in here makes it really, really easy. And you can just change it on the fly. Like if for some reason you don't like this, you want to be more, I don't know, just let's rotate this around, right? So it's like more worried or like hesitant of what he's going to do. You can do all of these changes before sending them. But once you're happy, I'm going to show you now how you move here into Marmoset. So all you need to do is select, let's go to scene. And the scene is basically where you have all your assets, accessories, and characters. And you select everything. There we go. I think I'm going to select everything, even though I have the eyelashes turned off and all that. But I'm going to select everything. Then we just go to File, and we go to Export. We go to FBX, and we click on Clothed Character. So that's it. So you get this export FBX. You can export for a bunch of different, rendering softwares or animation, anything you want. But what you want to choose here is Marmoset Toolbag. So there is a preset already for that. So you just choose that. And then you choose what you want to export. So in my case, I'm going to choose mesh and motion, purely because the pose, even though it is a single pose, is considered motion. Or it's part of the motion. Let's say it's like a frame of a motion. So mesh and motion is what I want. Everything else I'm going to leave as default. And I'm going to go to current pose. So calibration is just like a pose for calibrating. So I just need to make sure that current pose is selected. Everything else is going to be exactly the same. Yep. So everything is good. And that's it. And you click export, and you will be, it'll take a little while to export because it's going to export all the texture files, all the entire character in the subdivision, all of that. I've already done that, so I don't bother you with that process. It's just like computer time, really. So you click export, and then you'll end up with. So let's fire up Marmoset now. So you end up with a folder that has. I'm gonna try. Oh no, hang on. I'll show you all the exports. By the way, guys, if you have questions, feel free to let me know, even though we're going to do a bit of a Q&A later on. So this is one of the folders that I exported with all the textures from all the bits and pieces. So you see, it's all automated. You don't have to do anything else other than just export that. Also, it exported. Hang on. Here we go. So this is everything that is exported in that single step with one single click. So the one that you really need for Marmoset, aside from obviously the textures and everything else, is the concept itself. So this FBX is the one that is carrying your pose and the character, all the mesh stuff, and the JSON file. This is code. I don't even know what this is, but you need that. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how easy it is to set it up. And I'm gonna walk you briefly through how I set things up in Marmoset and the rendering side of things. So this is Marmoset. Obviously, this is Marmoset Toolbag 5. And if you already downloaded the plugin, I'm sure Kai or someone will just share that in the chat. But you can just go to Edit, go to Plugins. I already installed it, obviously, and you can go to CC Auto Setup for Marmoset Toolbag and click on that one. And there we go. That's it. So this is the plugin. All you need to do is choose the FBX file. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select the FBX and click Open. And it automatically recognizes the JSON file. Again, don't know what the JSON file does, but it's important. And I guess it's the one that connects all the bits and pieces behind the scenes. And that's it. So I'll cover what the look dev settings are later on, but this is the only step that you need after you export things from CC5. So I'm going to click on Import. This is going to take a couple minutes. So if you have any questions so far, I'm happy to answer, Kai. Anything? Otherwise, we'll just...
No, just for everyone who's not aware, I put Pablo's YouTube channel in the chat for everyone. I'm about to post the free Marmoset auto setup plugin for anyone here. So just make sure you pay attention to the chat. We got some good feedback from Slater Lewis, who's obviously pretty familiar with the tools. So I guess we can talk more about that stuff in a little bit. Yeah, just to reiterate, guys, if you have any questions, we got the whole Marmoset, or not the whole Marmoset crew here, but we got a few people from Marmoset. So take advantage of that. Ask any questions, and we'll get to those at the end of the demo from Pablo here. So yeah, I think that's about it for me.
Yep, cool. So also what I'll do, just because it might be a little bit heavy, I'm going to turn off, or I'm going to close CC5. The only reason as well I do that, I do have a relatively powerful computer, but one of the things that I really like about Marmoset is that I can see literally what I'm lighting and the textures and all the details. So I tend to just go full on ray tracing from the beginning. I don't work with like draft quality or gray. I just go like full render view. So as soon as I do that, obviously starts eating up more of the resources of the computer. So we'll just wait. Keep in mind that this is importing every single material with every single texture set of that material into every single part of the body, and not just the body parts that comes from CC5. It is also importing all the extra assets, and I have a bunch of pieces like the pads, the straps, the chest, all of those pieces, and each one of those pieces as well, they have their own texture set. So roughness map, normal maps, all of that good stuff. Even displacement. And there's a cool trick as well that I'll show you once it's set up. All right, I think in the meantime, I'm going to show you something that I was planning to leave for the end, but I think it's a good opportunity to cover this as well. So let's see. I guess we'll just have to wait because Photoshop is the other one that I had ready, but it's not showing up. I should have had this, showing already, but I did wanna show you the process of like setting things up, in the plugin. There we go. All right. Cool. So that's it. I'm going to open up this left-hand side. By the way, you can organize your Marmoset UI the way you want it. This just works for me. So on the right-hand side, I have the render settings, the materials, and the layers. I believe this is the default layout. Not sure, guys, but yeah, this is the one I use. But you see, I have like all the materials Everything has been plugged in with all the textures. You don't see it right now because this is currently in gray quality. But if I just click on this, I go full quality. There you go. You see it. And then I'm going to go to render. Just make sure that in the raster, I'm going to change this to ray tracing. I'll do it in a second. But yeah, this is how I work. I put it in ray tracing. I can see like the final look. Also, you see that the eyebrows and the eyelashes actually. Yeah, both of those came through nicely, but because I didn't texture them, they're like kind of like blank. So I'm gonna turn them off. And the eyebrows, where are they? Brows, yeah. Okay, cool. Now, one thing I should mention, and I think this is something that is being fixed as we speak, is that you see that the expression that I have in this guy is not 100% what I had in CC5. That is because Marmoset is already subdividing this character. So you see here, if you select the body, it is being subdivided. But for some reason, the Cadmon-Clark subdivision is not preserving that sort of blend shape from CC5. But all you have to do is switch to P and triangles, and that should, yep, there we go. So now you have pretty much the same thing, is just, with expression. So that's just something to keep in mind. And you see that we have like a nice background, some lights. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the concept, which is the entire mesh, and I'm gonna lock it. And just being able to get to this point where you have your mesh with all the textures working and everything set up is a huge step forward, because this is what takes a long time. When you import your OBJs or FBX and then start dragging things, imagine if you had to do it manually with every single material, all of these materials, and then each material you have to add normal map, albedo, roughness, all of that, sometimes even more. Like, for example, in the chest, I have emissive channels, all of that. But the plugin does it automatically. So it's great. So the reason I want to mention the look dev is because you have some really nice setups or studio setups in a way, and it creates automatically the lights and the environment for you. So here in the world, this is the folder. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights and the backdrop. So the backdrop is literally a mesh, right? Control U allows you to hide the UI, by the way. And there is another shortcut that I found out recently that I love, which is Control Y. So Control Y, if you made a mistake, like if you're setting up your render and you're trying to fine tune the final pose of the final angle and framing of the camera, and you accidentally make a mistake and move it around, Control Y is kind of like undo the camera movement. So that's really cool. All right, so going back to the plugin. So these look dev things, if you click on the faces, let's say, or this full body lighting, nothing is gonna happen. So that was kind of like my intuition was, I'm gonna click on this and it doesn't work. That is because this is just the preview. You actually have to click the names, like the buttons. So if I click on Studio, it's going to automatically replace that world and the backdrop, all of that with 4 lights. So, you have like some really cool, interesting things to get started with. The full studio are kind of nice if you want to have like that sort of backdrop. So yeah, you can just get started with these. You can also add some camera effects. I'm going to show you how I do it, or how I approach these type of things. I tend not to use many presets especially when it comes to lighting, because I like to build it, from scratch, or use some of the stuff that I've done in the past. So I'm just going to close this now. We don't need the plugin anymore because we are already with everything that we need. I'm going to switch to the gray so we can move a little bit faster. I'm going to remove the backdrop. So actually, let's go ahead and remove the whole thing. So I'm going to go to world, delete that. There we go. And this is how I like to set up things. So here at the top right, you have this icon to split the view. So if you click on that, it allows you to split vertically or horizontal. So I'm going to go vertical just because this is a kind of like a portrait, not portrait, but vertical format. On the right-hand side, I like to see what I'm going to end up with, like kind of like the final quality. And on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, this is kind of like my working area. Now, right now, it's using just the main camera, so that's why I'm moving both at the same time. So my first thing to do would be to create a camera. I'm going to double click that and I'm going to call it render. There we go. And then from this dropdown, I'm going to select this camera render. So now main camera. So now they move independently. So the right-hand side is the main camera and the other one is the render. So with the render, if you click on the camera itself, you can edit a few things that I personally like. For instance, this save frame. So I like to enable that and like to push this frame opacity all the way up. So this actually shows you what the frame of the camera is. So if you want to change the layout or the, like kind of like the composition of it or the aspect ratio, you can go to render. You can go to the image here, the output image, and I'm just going to invert this 180 by 1920. So just doing it vertical. That's it. And then continue here from the camera. I'm going to change the perspective, so the angle of view. Just flatten that a little bit more. Depends. This is a kind of, I'm going a little bit fast here, but this is a very important thing personally, I think, because the way that you frame your character, it's going to enhance or is going to kind of like take away the intentionality of the pose. So if you do something, from this angle, it's, it has a bit more power and is more interesting than if you do it here from the top, which, it loses that sort of energy. In my case, I just went for something like this. Right? Something like that. And the depth of field, or like the field of view, sorry, is quite important as well, because it either flattens the perspective or it exaggerates the perspective. So if I push it like so and then get closer, you see it's just distorting things quite a bit. So instead of that, I'm just gonna go for, let's go for 35 mil. Okay, something like that is fine. And then for the framing as well, what I like to do is try to avoid any sort of tangents or tension points, and those are pretty obvious in this case. So let's say if I do this render, it might look all right, but you see that let's say the outline of the right boot is conflicting or is creating those tension points, almost like a coplanar line with the left leg here. So these are very easy to fix. I just need to rotate the camera slightly, and now I let that bit of the composition breathe a little bit. Another thing that I tend to look for is I like to have enough room on the on top of the head. So avoiding kind of like this type of stuff. I hate that. So I tend to just like let the composition breathe, pay attention to the tangents and to those tension points. Make sure that obviously the focus of anything that's humanoid creature character is on the eyes. So making sure that that is in a good place of the composition. All right, let's say that I'm happy with this. So what I'll do now is I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to lock it so that I don't accidentally move that camera. I'm going to switch to full quality now. And I can see what's happening now with the sky and the lights. And if you press the shift key and the right click, you can rotate that light around. And the next thing I want to do is I want to change the way that I see, let's say, the background. So I'm going to click on sky. And in the sky, I want to change from ambient to color. So the color is just going to be a single flat color. You can actually use the sky and see the HDR. But I prefer to use color because ultimately what I'm going to do is a very kind of like dark render where I'm going to export things with transparency and then do the compositing after. And Marmoset allows you to export like a bunch of passes, which is great for compositing as well in a single click. So that's it. So that's that's the option of color, and I'm gonna choose something not 100% black, but pretty dark, just so that I can see a little bit of the outline. There we go. And I'm gonna choose something different for the sky. Now you could totally render the final image just with an HDR, just with an image. So I'm going to click on library here. And this is another great thing about Marmoset. They constantly add new stuff to the library. So every time there's like a new drop of content, I'll just go there and start downloading. So I'm going to click on this icon here at the bottom. By the way, so I'm in the skies, but this is where you can access your material, scenes, smart mask, all of that good stuff. So from the skies, if I click on this icon, it's going to filter everything that is already on my computer. But if you find something that you like, you can also just click on, let's say this one, you can double click. I'm gonna do it. That's it, download it. And now it's part of my thing. So I'm just gonna double click and here it is. I'll put it here so that I can see what it's doing. Now, as I mentioned, if I, let's say, take this one, you can already light up the scene and this will give you a realistic lighting scenario. You can see some of the cast shadows. So I'll be done with that. Let's say with one single image, this is ready to go. However, what I prefer to do is use the HDR image as my general ambient light. And especially if I have something like a reflective surface, like a metal surface, or things of that nature, translucency or transparency, sorry, we can use a sky like this, an HDR image, to generate those more realistic reflections and interactions with the surface. So this is how I use it, but you could use it just as a single, file for rendering. So what I'm looking for here is, again, something for the face. I'll tell you what I mean by this. So I'm going to switch to the main camera. All right. So like I said before, my main concern when I'm doing a character or creating the final pose and final render of a character is focus on the face, because that's what we read, instinctively. The first thing that we see is the eyes, if anything. So with this guys, what I'm doing is I'm gonna double click a few. Let's go back here and see if I can rotate it, holding the shift key and right click, and see if I can find a nice sort of reflection for the eyes, like this, for instance. This to me looks good. So if I get closer, you have this nice reflection in here, and that is good enough for the rest of the reflections, if there's any as well. I'm not gonna use this as my main light, just as an ambient light, but this is what I kind of like focus on when I'm choosing which skylight to use, or which HDR. Now that we're here, just on a random extra note, there is this cool thing that is already set up for you because it comes, with the displacement. So I'm going to close the sky. Let's go with this one. So you pay attention to the eye, and I'm going to select that. Oh, actually, we can just do it from the material itself. So I think the left, no, we're going for the right eye. Okay, so displacement, no, this is not the one. We need the cornea, hang on. Let's see if we can find it quickly. If not, I'm just gonna move on. But it was like a cool thing that I wanted to show you. It's covered in the video that is dropping tomorrow. So if I don't find it easily, I'll just do that tomorrow. Oh no, it is here. So the right eye. Okay, cool. So this displacement is actually changing that sort of like cornea of the eye. So you can just change the center. Oops, not that one. Sorry. The contrast. There we go. Of that map. So this is a grayscale image, but it's a displacement map. So changing the contrast, it's changing like that sort of curvature of the eye. You might not even need to do this at all. I just thought of like an extra thing that is already there for you, so you can play around with that. All right, so let's go back to the rendering tool. This is my render camera, and you also notice a big difference between my render camera, and if I go with the main camera and go full quality, you'll see that this one is darker than this. That is because of the type of, let's actually choose this camera, and the type of tone mapping. So let's close anything that we don't need. All right, so in the post-processing, this part right here is using ACES, whereas this one is using, it's locked as well, is using AGX, okay? So I'm gonna switch so that we have the same thing, and we have this darkness, which I kind of like for this. So it's a post-processing thing. In fact, you could just go with AGX and then do some color correction afterwards. It will be kind of like the same thing. So I'm just gonna go with this, go back to draft quality, not draft quality, great quality. There we go. All right. So another thing that that I like to do, especially for this type of render, so that the character is not just running or standing on the space, is to create a drop, a shadow catcher plane, which is really, really good. So I'm gonna go to Scene, Add Object, and I'm gonna click on Shadow Catcher. So it creates this plane I'm going to hold the Control U as well here in this camera. Should be able to hide it. There we go. To hide the UI. And I'm just going to scale it because sometimes, depending on the angle of the light, it might cast a shadow that is a little bit too long. And if you have this this plane that is too short or like, you know, small, it's going to cut off at some point. So I'm just going to press R to scale and then just do that. That should be enough. Yeah, that should be okay. All right. So at this point, I could just do a render and it will be a cool render. But to enhance it, to make it, you know, even better, and again, this whole process of lighting and setting up your composition and the lights that you use is all about, I think it's about storytelling. So you're trying to tell a story. It's not only about the pose, it's not only about the expression of the character. You're trying to convey a mood and communicate something. And lighting can definitely make or break your render. So it's very important to be careful on how you use the lights, because it is very easy in Marmoset. That's one of the kind of like double-edged swords, that it's really easy to add lights and look and create things that look really cool, but then you might lose focus of the actual thing that you want to, you know, create. So I'm going to keep it super simple. Let's lock my camera again. And let's also lock the shadow catcher as well. So I'm going to start by creating my key light, and I'm going to turn off the skylight, or the sky. So that basically gives me a black image, except I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's some tiny orange bits. Those are the emission for the suit that I created. And then I'm going to go here to the light bulb, click on that, and I'm going to click on the spot. You can go with directional as well for a key light, but I think the spot allows you to control things and create a bit more of a moody image. So I'm going to click on spot. And straight away, as soon as you create something, it will be placed from the camera that you had selected. So there we go. So this is the spotlight. And now you can see a little bit of the character. Now you can press the letter W on your keyboard, and then you can move things around. Again, W. Oops, sorry. Select that. W. Let's select it from here. Hang on. Not letting me move it. Do I have anything open at the moment that is making this slow? No. Oh, come on. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right. So you can just move this around. Now, I don't even know why I wasted time on this, because this is not how I position lights anyway. Just wanted to show you, you have W to translate that, or move that around. You have E to rotate it around. And then you have R if you want to scale it, though it doesn't do much. Those are in here as well, right? Now, I don't use this tool to place my lights. I actually like to see through the light so that I know exactly what the light is pointing at. So there is this option as well in Marmoset that allows you to click on this camera dropdown. And instead of selecting a camera, you can choose lights. So I'm going to click on light 1. And you see now that sort of like circle around it. That's basically, let's move this like so. That's basically my light. So I can move through the light or with the light. So if I rotate things around, I'm actually moving that light. So if I get closer, you see, I'm just overexposing the face and maybe create like this could be like a cool, nice flash moment. But I'm just moving the light itself. So I'm gonna double click the light, and I'm gonna call this key. And let's just find a nice pattern for this light. And when I say a pattern, I just mean like the type of light pattern that is cast on the face. Again, my focus first is on the face. That's another reason why, in terms of the textures, there's like a big contrast between the face, or the skin color, and the rest of the suit. So what I'm trying to do is kind of like something a bit more dramatic. Kind of like maybe like I think it's called like a butterfly pattern, where you have like the shape of the shadow that is cast from your nose. It resembles like a butterfly, something like that. All right, so let's say we're happy with this as the key light. Then I'm just gonna go and tweak the light itself. So from the properties of the light, you can obviously change the intensity, right? But I'm more interested in the shape or the diameter. So if I increase the diameter, that's kind of like going from, let's say, like the shape of a laser to something like a softbox. Now, you don't see it right now in real time what is happening because I'm in draft quality. Let's go to full quality. So you see the edge of the shadow is changing. I'm going to exaggerate so you can see. So this is how you can blur those shadows. So yeah, imagine the diameter of the light is the equivalent to the source of light. So if you have a laser compared to a softbox, it's going to cast different types of shadows. No, not a laser, but like a torch, let's say. So I'm going to, for the key light, I'm going to go for something rather sharp so that you can really define or see the shadows. And let's reposition this a bit more. So what I'm looking for in here is to try to capture as much as I can from that right arm that is at the back and the forearm here of the front arm, but keeping an eye on the head. I can spend a lot of time in here, so I'm going to try to do this quickly. But I do like little bits and pieces and tweaks. I think that's what I think gives you the edge, really, when you spend time here and really do this with intention. All right, I can keep doing this, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Then I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. I'm gonna create another light, and I'm gonna use a spotlight as well. Double click on it. I'm gonna do it faster now. I'm gonna call it rim light. You can call it, edge light, hair light as well. This guy doesn't have any hair, so we go with rim. And I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna select the light that I want, rim light. Now it's currently the only light enabled. So whatever you see is what this light is giving you. And I'm gonna go for some sci-fi color. You can't go wrong with bluish green color when it comes to sci-fi, I think, or amber. So it's a good contrast as well. So the reason I also go for these colors is so that it's a bit complementary with, the yellowness of the face and the emission. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it towards the back. And this time I'm just going to increase the diameter a bit and decrease the spot angle. So the spot angle is just narrowing the focus of the light. So I'm going to narrow that down and also reduce the spot sharpness. So you see it's a bit softer, and we can increase the brightness a bit. So what I'm looking for with this light is to help bring the character forward or create a little bit of a distinction between the background, whatever the background is going to be, and the character itself. So you can think about this light as the light that I use to emphasize the silhouette. All right. I think something like that might be good. Let's go ahead and bring in the key so that we compare the two. And if you see, I'm going to turn on and off the rim light so that you can see the effect. Right? So it's just like highlighting those edges a bit more. So that's good. Okay. And finally, you can keep adding lights, but I think a good rule of thumb is if you can generate the mood and you can create that, or you can communicate what you want with a single light, you don't need more. So, and it is possible. So that's kind of like the rule of thumb. So I'm going to do another one, but this time I'm going to use a spotlight. Sorry, not a spotlight, an omni light. So an omni light in other software might be called like a point light, for instance. And that's just like this orb. So I'm going to select that. Let's turn everything off. So we only see the contribution of that light. And I'm going to make it a bright blue. Like so. I'm going to increase the brightness. Oh, sorry, decrease the brightness. And you see that changes the size of that sphere. That's kind of like the reach of that light. And I'm going to bring it closer to my character. Oh, no. Again, cannot select it. All right. So I'm just going to place that roughly there. You won't see the source of the light. So that's important to highlight. I'm going to increase the diameter a tiny bit. This is going to be a very focalized, very precise, a narrow light source. So it should generate the shadows that are pretty sharp. And then we can play with the brightness as well. Okay, so this is the one that is going to create that, glowing effect. And let's go ahead and bring in the rest and the sky. So the sky is going to give me a nice overall lighting. Cool. So you see the effect. Maybe we can just reduce it a tiny bit. By the way, this is another reason I love to work here in Marmoset, because like I said, I can see in real time what is happening, and I can say, you know what, this is looking good, but I want to have a bit more of like light coming through here on the right hand side of the face of the character, but this light is not reaching. So I can fake it, because again, what I'm trying to do is communicate specific things. So I can, just for the sake of demo, I'm gonna add a new light, create a spotlight, and I'm gonna make it similar color to this blue tone. And I'm gonna reduce this spot angle. So I'm gonna make it very, very specific, increase the diameter, and then I'm just going to select that. Oops, I think I've been moving my rim light accidentally. Oh, sorry about that. Hang on. That's an important thing. If you use this method, make sure that when you move your camera, you actually move the camera and not the light, because it does happen a lot. All right. All right, I think that's good. So now let's select the light too. So I'm going to focus on this area of the face. There we go. Let's bring everything back. And now this light is just focusing on this area. I can just go ahead and reduce the intensity so you can see without the contribution of this light, and then I can just bring it slowly to see if that works a bit better. And I think the color is a bit more, should be more bluish. There we go. And so this is something that I tend to do quite often as well. I push things kind of like to like overblown the render and exaggerate things, just so that I can understand what each element is doing. And then I just reduce the intensity or reduce the contribution of like a light like so. So I think I'm just going to turn that down a bit more. All right, so let's switch back to the main camera. And this is my final render. So I'm going to show you how I set this render up. Then I'm going to cover quickly kind of like the compositing that I do after, so that you see how I use the passes and all of that from Marmoset. And I think that'll be it, because I know I tend to talk quite a bit. So let's go to the render tab. And in the render tab, depending on what type of material you have, if you have a lot of translucency and things like that, you can change these rays here. Let's just, again, for the sake of demo, I'm going to do like 6 bounds. Transmission, I'm going to go 12. And that's just increasing the quality in general. This, I'm going to leave it as it is. Nothing to do here. The samples of the viewport doesn't really matter, because we're going to render. So it's just basically what it's doing right now here. So that's in terms of the lighting, ray tracing, that's good. Here's where you can define what camera you're going to render. So I don't want to render my main camera. I want to click on Add New and Add Render, and I'm going to turn off the main camera. So this is also a really cool thing. You can set up a bunch of different angles. Maybe you can do a close-up of your character. You can do all of this, and in one single click, when you render, it renders out all of the cameras with all the different passes that you set up for each camera. So in my case, I just want to have the render camera. And then in the passes, I'm going to add a few more. So I have the final composite. And this is basically what you see in here. I'm going to click on Add New. And I like to render the object or the material ID. That is going to create a very colorful pass. It's also used sometimes it's called the clown pass, because it just has a very bright colors. But what's cool about that is that it allows you to isolate and select later in compositing specific areas. So if I use the material ID, I know that my entire character's face is a single material, because that came from CC5 with its own UVs and all of that. So it's an entire material. So in compositing, I can select, let's say, this color, and then I can adjust the light or the contrast or change the hue a little bit on just the face without affecting anything else. And it's a very fast thing to do. Another one that I absolutely love is the depth. So the depth mask is going to create a grayscale image where the things that are closer to the camera are in white and anything that is further is black. So that allows me to, I use it for a bunch of different ways, mostly to integrate my character with the background and create a bit of a more of an atmospheric feeling. So that's an important one. And I'm just gonna do this one because yeah, you could keep doing a bunch of them. The normals is actually something important. I sometimes use that to extract a specific angle so that I can relight that specific area. So I'm just gonna add it so you can see. That's it. In terms of the samples, I'm just gonna add 512. You can keep, pushing that. Very, very important, specifically for this type of render that I don't wanna have the black background in. So I want a transparent image is to enable transparency. So now it's gonna render all of those bits with transparency, or not all of these bits, the final composite. And if in doubt, you can also add an alpha mask, but I'll be able to use that. One more thing that I forgot to mention is in the camera. I like to push the cinematic look, and I think this is a fantastic, easy thing to do in Marmoset. So if you select the camera and you go to lens, you can open up the focus tab here and switch this from off to ray trace. Click on sticky focus, and with the middle mouse button, you can click on an area to focus on that area. So I want to click on the eyes, because again, that's the focal point. And that is going to give me that nice, not super shallow depth of field, but it's going to blur things that are away from that focal point. And you can click here and change this, and that will change the intensity, or like the amount of blurriness. It also has to do with your field of view. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it as it is. But very, very simple stuff. All right, going back to the render bits. So we have everything with transparency. Samples is fine. Obviously, here you can increase the resolution. I'm going to keep it as, I'm going to increase it to like a 3, almost 4K, just so you can see how easy and fast this is anyway. But you can just keep pushing this if you need to. We're not rendering any video, and we don't need to do any watermark. So that's it. So when I click render, it's going to render my camera, the chosen one, and it's going to give me 4 different files. So let's do that. Don't worry, it's not going to take too long. This is one of the, I think, biggest strengths of Marmoset is the quality and how fast it is. So I'm going to click on all images. There we go. So it's like rendering one already. So this will be the composite image. Yep. So this is it, right? So we have the composite image. We have the clown pass that I was talking about, or like the material ID. So you see that that color and the normals. So that color, I can, let's say the chest piece, I can isolate that and change that on the fly. And then this is the depth pass. All right. So pretty simple stuff, really. And that's about it. At this point, what I do is I save my file. I tend to save like progressively, like, lighting setup and then material setup. But because the plugin from CC5 and Marmoset saves a lot of time, I just jump straight into setting things up. And when I'm happy, I just save it as render 1 or render 2 or whatever. And that's it. So at this point, I will save my file. Let's move into draft or gray so I can work a little bit faster here. And jump into Photoshop. I mean, you can use any tool for compositing. I'll cover this in a bit, but just to show you the ones that I just rendered. So I have, this is the final render, and you see we have transparency, and I'm gonna bring in the rest as well. So these are the other passes. So what I'll do is I'll create a folder for all the extra passes as well. This is more about compositing, nothing to do with the render, because we already have something of high quality, so we don't have to do much. But I like to play with this part a little bit. So I'm gonna set this up as a background that is a dark background, and very briefly I'll do kind of like a gradient that works with the same sort of tones as this. Something subtle. So you see, adding that bit of background, it sort of brings that character like forward a bit. So it just creates that a bit of depth. But then you can use something really cool like this one. I'm actually going to add I'm going to isolate this. So I just selected the entire body of the character and the depth of field. And I'm going to exaggerate. Let me do something here first. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on like the tips of the compositing, but this is what I'll do. Also, I think I forgot to, doesn't matter. We'll just do this. But then I'm going to increase the contrast. All right. Not perfect, but you see anything at the back is kind of like grayer than anything closer to the camera, which is this white bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert that. I'm going to select everything. And I'm going to bring in let's say, solid color. Let's keep it simple. It's going to be green. And then in here, I'm going to paste that mask. So in Photoshop, anything that's white is what you'll see. So you see that's, pretty straightforward. Let's turn this on. And then I can use the levels in Photoshop to adjust the contrast of that mask. And you see how I'm kind of like pushing the character in or out of this green color. So again, I like to push things to very bright colors and exaggerate things so that I can really see what's happening. So I'll do that and then maybe push the white color a bit. So you see the right foot is almost way too much into that depth area. So I'm going to leave it as it is. But the cool thing is that I can take this and maybe let's set it to darken or multiply, or let's go for darken, right? So if I turn this on and off, you see it just affects that area that is further from the camera. I think multiply might be better, but what I'll do is I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to click on that. And this is a non-destructive way of doing things. I'm going to go for that sort of bluish tone. So it's just little things like that. It's not necessarily, re-rendering things, but it's integrating things with the, integrating things a bit. Maybe that's a little bit too much. So I'm going to go for soft light. That's usually a good middle ground. And we can change the color. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is how I use those passes that come straight from Marmoset. They're really, really handy, really useful. Let's say if I want to bring some light here to the chest piece, I can do the same thing. I can go to select, color range. I can click on this yellow bit, and you see it just selects anything that has that color. It might have selected other bits just because of the glowing material. But that's all we need, really. So once I have selected that bit, you see it's only this section right here. What I'll do is I'm going to click on levels. And because I have a selection, it already creates a mask. You see that mask in here. And I'm just going to paint those extra bits that I don't need. All right. So now I can just change the intensity of that piece. So in terms of like compositing and being able to control what you want in your final image, these passes and the way that you produce this straight from Marmoset is absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of brightness, even though I don't really need it. But you see, tiny bits and pieces like this, they make all the difference. Another way that I use, just to wrap this up, these are the normals. And the way that normals work as a normal map or as a map for texture is that it has the coordinates of the light. That's the reason why it sort of looks or behaves, or it almost fakes the depth and the details, because the green channel is the light coming from the top, the red channel is coming from the left or right, and the blue channel is kind of like coming from the front. So if this might look like a colorful image or like a RGB image, but it's actually a black and white image. It's just that all of this is mapped into the channels. So if I choose the channels, I can see the red, green, and blue. So you see the blue is almost like an ambient occlusion. Is that like a flash pointing at the characters straight on? The green one is kind of like the light coming from the top, and the red one is coming from the right-hand side in this case, right? So what this allows me to do, or this is one of the ways I use the normal pass, I can contrast this just so that it's a little bit easier to select the things that I want. Let's go for something like this. You can achieve the same thing with an like a object space normal. But anyway, I'm going to go to select, color range, and let's say I'm going to choose this particular color, or maybe this one right here. right? So you see whenever I choose something, is actually looking at the normals, obviously, of a potential light that is coming from this angle. So let's say this part right here. I'm going to use this one just for demo, and otherwise, again, I'll spend a lot of time here. So that selects that bit. I'm going to turn that off. And in here, I'm going to go for a levels, and I'm going to push this all the way here so you can really see what's happening. And it's just creating this overexposed area right here. Again, just so I can see it. And then I'm going to take this entire thing, I'm going to make it into a group and create a black mask. Okay, so basically I hid everything that is in this group. I'm going to give it a color so you know what I'm talking about. So this group that has the levels. So in this mask, I can manually paint. So I'm going to choose a soft brush and then just paint or reveal the areas that I want to have that effect, maybe, right? And of course, because this is non-destructive, I'll go back to the levels and do this. So I can just push. So this is another way I use the normal pass. So I just push that in so that I can have a tiny bit more brightness in that area. So in general, that's how I use it. So, a lot of back and forth and little bits and pieces, but hopefully there's some good tips that you can implement straight away in your workflow between CC5 and Marmoset. So just to wrap up and go into the Q&A, I'm going to go to the final one. This is the actual piece, and I'll show you the breakdown of everything that I've set up for this. So this is the Marmoset render. As you can see, it's exactly the same thing. So this is the Marmoset render. I created the background with a bit of a smoke kind of like smoke here. I then painted the ground, which is just a very grungy area. Nothing too fancy. They just literally paint over. Then I created that crystal as well, which is kind of like the object that the guy is looking into. And by the way, like the story, again, I try to do this kind of like a storytelling. So there are 3 images, because this is kind of like the guy walking confidently and all of that. It finds this thing that is like figuring what this is, and it's a bit curious about it, but it sort of like changes his personality, and that's become, it consumes him. It's kind of like based on Lord of the Rings type of thing. Like you have the ring and it just corrupts you. And anyway, so that's the idea with the crystal here. Then I added this sort of like smoke effect. And I use that transparency and the depth of field to integrate those with the compositing. Then I integrate everything with, again, with some highlights like I showed you before with the levels and contrast, and then some adjustments that, I use the adjustments to create that sort of moody and the look and feel that I want to create for the image. So yeah, that's kind of like the most, revealing bit of the composition. It changes things from a deep, saturated blue to more of a greenish tone. It's more in the sci-fi line. But that's it from me. It's been a while. Sorry about the extra content, but yeah, happy to jump into the Q&A if you have any.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Pablo. That's really good stuff. Really good tips for everyone, both from character creator community and from the Marmoset community, I'm sure. We had a ton of questions that have already been answered, actually. Thank you for those of you who have put the questions in the Q&A. We got a bunch of them answered from the Marmoset crew as well as from our own crew. We have a bunch of questions left. Excuse me. I've got a bit of a cold here. I'm going to go ahead and go to the questions that have not been answered yet. If we have a bit more time, we'll go through the questions that have already been answered just to kind of share them with everyone. So let's start with the first question here. We have a bunch of questions actually from this character, Philippe Nello. Can it be possible to save the parameters worked on Marmoset with a creature and apply it later to another CC5 creature or human? Have you done that before, Pablo, yourself, or?
Not sure if this is the question. Parameters, you mean like in terms of the camera settings and things like that, or?
Yeah, I think maybe they're talking about the parameters that both Marmoset parameters and the parameters in the plugin window.
Yeah, I haven't done that. I know it's easier sometimes when you have like a library of things, but I tend to just do things from scratch most of the time. It's just that when you have things like the plugin, it just saves a ton of time. So I don't mind resetting up my cameras and my things like that. What I would say though is that in order to keep a consistent look, let's say for all these 3 images, right? What I did was I imported one. Let's say I can't remember. I think it was this one. I set up the file, and then I just deleted the character creator. So it was the same sort of scene with all the parameters, with all the camera effects, all of that good stuff, the rendering. Um, and then deleted the character creator, used the plugin to import a new pose that I exported, a new JSON file, a new FBX, and it already had everything from the scene. So all I need to do in that case is just take my all my lights and one by one reposition it to adjust it for the new pose.
Yeah, I think the parameters can be saved both in Character Creator and in Marmoset. Like Pablo mentioned, it's just a single click. So, wherever you feel more comfortable saving the parameters and tweaking them, I think I mean, the point of the auto setup plugin is that it's a really flawless workflow that's can be done in a couple of clicks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever your preference, I think. Anyone from the Marmoset crew want to pitch in on that or?
Oh yeah, you can drag, like you can group all the things in your scene that you want to save. You can drag it into the library, and anytime you ever want to use it, like even if you've already imported your character from CC5 using the plugin, you just drag it back in. So that's also another really fast way of doing it. And you can save scenes, so you can save like a template for the entire scene as well, which is really, really handy.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. Yeah, I think if you're doing something like maybe a character selection screen for a video game, you're just trying to do some look dev stuff for someone. Keeping a consistent environment like that is pretty important.
Yeah, with
Okay.
I was going to say yeah, with Pablo's screen chain right here too. A helpful note with like the library too, like save presets and coming back to templated files and scenes you lighting setups you have. This is our like we all the content by default in here is Marmoset created and provided, but you can everything in the scene you can save to your local library. It doesn't sync with up on the cloud or like with the Marmoset servers. It syncs to your local device or local file server, and you can always reference those every time you load up Toolbag to work again.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mark. Sorry, I got distracted. Karsten, it's 3:22 o'clock in the morning for Karsten. So good night, Karsten. Just want to thank you for sticking with us. Andrea mentions here recommending using the TB scene file with your render settings and light setup in your library. Is that some like a common workflow for you guys?
Yeah, I used the custom TB scene back when I was working in game dev, and I had the exact same scene, and it was linked across all our artists. And I said, as soon as you start up Marmoset, it's got all your texture project settings and everything, so you can just get started right away texturing and exporting and baking and stuff like that. So it was very, very handy.
Cool. Yeah, very good to know. We'll go to the next question anyways from Gitmar here. Pablo, it's a question for you, I guess.
Mhm.
Do you use the Marmoset brush system in your workflow? If you do, how do you like it? And how does it compare with Substance Painter?
I'll be totally honest, guys. I don't haven't used extensively the texturing tools in Marmoset. I can see they're really powerful, and actually, a lot of my students that are in my premium courses are using it, and they do like some fantastic work. It's just that I tend to use a lot of different applications and software that I already fit within my workflow. And Substance Painter, because of the plugins and the connection that I use with other stuff, kind of like fits better for me personally. But yeah, like I haven't had a chance to do so. There's a lot of things that I wish, let's say, Painter would have, like that Marmoset have. But for instance, baking wise, I try to use the bakers in Marmoset as much as I can because they're like beautiful and they give you like a clean output, especially for hard surface more than anything. And then if the project requires texturing, I'll just jump into Painter. But it's mostly a personal thing that I'm already comfortable with that workflow and fast, and I haven't had the chance to replace that workflow more than anything.
Awesome. Okay, we'll just go to the next question anyways here from Guy Langlois. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Guy's a long time Reillusion iClone character creator user, probably from when I first got hired, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. So Guy asks here, does Reillusion provide a four character up Marmoset project so we can just export the characters and load them into a project? So I think that's kind of similar to the question that was asked previously about like the preset template environment, render environment. Guy, we don't have those. I don't believe we have those yet. But I think it wouldn't be a problem for our crew to create them. Maybe keep updated on the Marmoset plugin page. I believe I still have this up for people. Yeah, this is the auto setup plugin page for Marmoset. For those of you, I'm going to put it in the chat window who didn't see it for the first time. Come back to this page. We have some tutorials at the bottom of this page as well, that are done by Oscar Fernandez, amazing artist as well. If you go to the bottom of that page, you can find it on your own time. But some really cool tutorials, also showcasing kind of similar to what Pablo just showed here. So highly recommend checking that out. So maybe just check back. Sorry for the kind of non-answer there, but we got a question from
Uh,
Fernando. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
if I can just chip in there.
Sure, yeah.
For, for that, to practice or like to see how it works, you can do anything. Like any character that was already part of the character creator. All you need to do is export it as an FBX. You don't have to go through the process of what I've done here to adjust it and create extras. If you just want to see how it works, open up Marmoset and CC5, export Kevin or I think Aaron is the new guy. Export it as it is and as an FBX in a post, import it into Marmoset, and you're good to go.
Yeah, like sometimes we provide like just templates for people to, just do it themselves without needing to set up their own lighting and stuff, just for people who want to kind of do a quick one.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely you can always set up your own stuff for sure. I'm just gonna go to the next question here from Fernando first here. He asks, does the plugin sync the cameras with its animation too? That's an interesting question. Um, I'm not too familiar with the Marmoset auto setup plugin myself. Do you guys know anything about this? Does it sync the cameras? And
I don't think the cameras are synced, no.
okay,
But I might be
animation should
wrong.
be fine in the FBX, right? If you export
Yeah,
the FBX, should
I think
include the
animation.
animation data. Yeah.
Yeah, if it comes with a blank shape, it should be. When you choose like mesh and motion, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I personally haven't tried to do the camera stuff. That's a
Yeah,
question.
I haven't either. I'd just say like Toolbag does support importing, camera movement, camera tracking data like yeah, through FBX and but I haven't tested it myself coming through the CC5 auto setup plugin. So yeah, to be determined on that front.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, coming directly through the plugin connection. Yeah, I have not tested that myself.
Yeah, it's still a pretty new plugin. So thanks, Fernando. You stumped us. We'll have to just try and see, I
But
guess.
it should work. I haven't tested, but FBXs will work and carry camera placement and position, so it should work.
Yeah, I'm thinking it should. Well, we'll never know. Well, for those of you who
We'll
are
never.
curious, check it out. Check it out after the webinar. We got another question from Philippe here. Are there any portfolios of predefined groups of parameters in Marmoset? Okay, so this is kind of similar to the previous one as well. So a lot of people asking questions about are there like, predefined groups of parameters that you can just kind of load up in Marmoset? I think we kind of answered that question a little bit earlier as well. Andrea in the chat had mentioned the TB scene file, which Stephanie had backed up. So that's a really good way to kind of, share those predefined groups of parameters. Hopefully that answers your question there, Philippe. If you need some, elaboration on that, just feel free to ask us another question.
You
Um,
have the look dev settings if that helps. So that's an easy way to load this.
okay. Um, how about Jordan? Do you have any thoughts on that? You haven't spoken up yet. We haven't even heard your voice. Is he going to be able to talk? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, um, I don't really have anything to add to that other than what was already said.
All good. I just wanted to hear your voice, so just so everyone knows what Jordan sounds like.
Yep.
Don't want to leave anyone out. Okay, we'll go to the next question anyways from Paul. Paul Butler here. Can you also accentuate objects like a weapon or a vehicle? Pablo, maybe you can talk about that or
Um, ac- what do you mean accentuate? Like add into the mix?
I think maybe like for example, you did some accentuation on the character's armor in Photoshop. Um, so I think maybe I think maybe Paul asked that question before you did the
Oh,
additional
okay.
work in Photoshop. So yeah, essentially like make it more in focus or pop out more in your render.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just like compositing tricks that you can use for anything. If you have like a weapon, so this guy is carrying a, I don't know, like a gun or something, it will have probably its own material. So you can use, or even if it is its own object, you can set an object ID here instead of a material ID. Let's say that it's a gun that has multiple materials for whatever reason. So instead of using the material ID, use the object ID. And if it's a single object, it will be its own color. So you can create a quick mask and apply the effects to just that accessory.
Very cool. Okay. That's a solution in Marmoset for sure. Um, okay. Anything you guys wanted to add, Marmoset crew? We only got a couple more questions left, so.
No, yeah, not on that one.
We got this guy, Slater Lewis, in the chat who seems to be a Marmoset pro. So thanks for, if you go through the chat history, Slater has some good tips for everyone, in case you're interested. For those of you who are watching this later on YouTube or whatnot, unfortunately, you won't be able to see the Zoom chat history, but thanks for the tips there, Slater. Okay, we got a question from Rodrigo here. Um, is there any configuration needed for the mesh bones not to deform? That's my main problem as it has a different mesh bone configuration. Have you come across that issue, Pablo, yourself?
Um, can you repeat the question? I'm not entirely sure what that means. So like when it is it a character creator question, I suppose, or
Yeah,
when
I think Rodrigo, maybe we need more clarification on that. If it's a character creator, like you're bringing your characters from character creator or just strictly into Marmoset. Maybe elaborate on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, what I can say is that there's no bones being transferred here into Marmoset. Like all it is just the mesh. So that's why at the beginning of the demo, I mentioned that I need to be kind of like 100% happy with the pose, and I spend time doing the pose in CC5 with the expression and everything before I send it to Marmoset. And sometimes it was the case with one of the poses that I thought the pose was looking really nice in CC5, and I had the expression and everything, and I set up everything in Marmoset, but I couldn't find the right framing with the camera. So with like the tangents that I mentioned and the tension points, so I had to go back to CC5, open the arms a little bit more and tilt the head slightly. So tiny little tweaks, and then re-export the whole thing, import it back into Marmoset, and that was the final. So yeah, you can just go back and forth, I suppose, to fine tune it. But I do spend more time figuring out the pose and everything before I send it to render.
Yeah, I would agree on that just because, the bone system can be quite complex, including things like twist bones and stuff. If you have, very extreme poses, you'll want
Mhm.
to, our new characters, Character Creator 5 characters, for some reason called CC3 plus characters in Character Creator 5, but they have a brand new bone system that's very unique that solves a lot of those issues. So I would follow Pablo on that and try and do a lot of your posing in CC before doing, again, the one-click export into Marmoset. So
I
we're
would
going.
also
Oh,
say that with that in mind, if you want to do like an extreme pose, something that is like really really exaggerated, maybe you're doing like a stylized character with a very exaggerated pose. Um, regard it doesn't really matter how many bones you tweak. The If you have like a very complex pose, things are going to break. Like that's just the reality of things. And when I mean break, it's just like you'll have intersections of the mesh, and especially if you created accessories on top of what's already in CC5, because you have to adjust the weight painting and all of that. So another method, another workflow before you get into Marmoset is to send everything to ZBrush and adjust and sculpt and move and tweak the intersection of the meshes to create a more realistic pose before you send it to Marmoset. So in terms of the workflow, you send everything again with one click. CC5 has a plugin with ZBrush. It sends everything to ZBrush, sets up for you in the right pose. You adjust that pose in ZBrush, send it back to CC5, and then export it to Marmoset. And there's also a series for that covering how to do that in my YouTube channel. So there's different options. I guess is if the questions are like very specific about like these type of things, I'm sure it's possible. It's more about like knowing what each software or which stage of the process each software can be used for. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah. And maybe Pablo, when you get a chance, if you want to put your YouTube channel in the chat. I know I did it before, just for everyone who may not have seen it the first time, but a lot of useful tutorials on Pablo's YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking it out. But yeah, like you mentioned, ZBrush is going to be the master of mesh manipulation in this case for the workflow. And we do have a one-click, pipeline into ZBrush and then back to Marmoset. Just back and forth, use the tools that you're used to or the tools that excel at a specific thing. And we try to be as what's the word? As flexible, I guess you can say, with all of the major tools. So yeah, we try to be kind of like a hub for everyone's workflow. We
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
couple more.
I think the CC5 is kind of like the Swiss Army knife that it works with everything.
Right
And
on.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, once you make adjustment, you can go back to CC5 even once it's exported here, like this model right now in Toolbag. You can go back to CC5, make the adjustments, export, and it will be much faster once it's imported to update the model. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Back and forth, just not just a one-way workflow, back and forth.
Mm.
We make it so for sure.
Mhm.
All right. Question from Philippe, very inquisitive fellow tonight. Is it possible to automate the render already done in Marmoset to an iClone 8 video of a character? Not exporting the FBX of the video or file to Marmoset, but a finished video or file. It's a interestingly worded question. Philippe, I'm not really sure. Exporting. Let me just try and read this carefully. It's kind of a word salad. Automate the
Yeah, I
render
don't think
already.
I can answer anything related to iClone. I have very little experience with iClone myself.
Yeah, iClone, for those of you who aren't aware, is just like the animation software that's corresponds to Character Creator, which is obviously the character creation software. So all of our animation, a lot of motion capture stuff is done in iClone. For those of you who are like to try it out, we have our AI video mocap plugin that's actually free from today until the end of the month. So check that out. I think I put that link in the chat. I have to go way back to check it out. But yeah, maybe Philippe, if you I'm not super sure on the context of the question here, but I believe it has something to do with rendering the iClone videos. This auto setup also comes from iClone as well, so you can do from iClone to Marmoset, as well as from Character Creator to Marmoset. So that might answer your question. Next question we got, anyways, from last question from SC. Can you manipulate the skeleton and facial expressions within Marmoset? Anyone from Marmoset want to pitch in there?
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Now, if you have set up your skeletal rig and animation, you won't have direct access in Toolbag today to manipulate that in Toolbag. But like we fully import any rigged, yeah, any skeletal rigs and animation sequences that you've created in another app. Those all import typically through FBX or a Limbic file. And then yeah, we do have animation support in Toolbag, so there's the timeline editor where you can control your frame rates and your playback sequences. Split up which it kind of auto parses if there is existing animation sequences from the app you authored it in. Those will import kind of actually I think I just saw Pablo's kind of selecting those through the animation selector as well. But yeah, you can select different animation sequences to change the playback in your viewport. But yeah, but actually in real time adjusting the expressions, facial expressions, and just manually adjusting the skeleton is not supported in Toolbag right now.
Right on. That's what you use Character Creator for now.
Yeah, and then it'll just live update once you make your adjustments.
Awesome. All right.
Maybe
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
before,
Pablo.
no, I just want to show you something that I think could, it ties into that question nicely. So I did a little trailer for one of the courses that I have online called the Extra Mile, which, by the way, I'm planning to open in a couple months. But that is done with Character Creator and Marmoset. So in Character Creator, let me just show you this bit. Hang on. I have actually two bits and pieces. I'll show you those two. They're like, seconds really. I don't know if you can hear the music, but that's okay. All right, so that's one. And this is another one. That's it. But those two very short trailers were 100% done with Character Creator 4, I think it was at the time, and Marmoset. So essentially, I did everything like the whole animation in Character Creator, and I use a bunch of like the preset animation in there, and I just exported the FBX with the animation and just find a nice camera and played it, and I just record, create a bunch of different frames and sort of scenes or framing of the camera, and then just put it together in After Effects. But it can totally be done. It just recognizes that that animation easily.
Awesome. Yeah, and that workflow just got a heck of a lot faster with this new auto setup plugin. So really cool. Okay, one final question from Fernando, and then we'll call it a night, day, wherever you are in the world. Fernando asks, is it possible to render VDB archives and add it to the scenes with iClone characters in Marmoset?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know off
I
the
don't
top
know
of my
either. Any Marmoset people know about rendering VDB archives?
No, that is a commonly requested feature in Toolbag, VDBs and VDB support, and yeah, it's been climbing up the climbing up the request list for us. We'll definitely upvote it again. But yeah, that's definitely an oft requested feature. Currently not supported, but yeah, looking into possibilities there.
All right. Thanks for the question, Fernando. You have the honor of being the last question person, the last inquisitor. I don't know. Anyways, it's late. So yeah, any of you I guess we can all just sign off. The Marmoset crew, any of you guys want to say any last words before heading off?
Uh, no, I guess yeah, would you mind if I just screen share once more here,
Yeah, go
Pablo?
for it, yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, no, lastly here, I dropped the link in chat here. I just want to I didn't show this page at the start of the hour here. Uh, yeah. Yeah, so I just want if you have any questions about some of the feature sets supported, any of the workflows that are possible in Toolbag, if you just check out our website, marmoset.co/resources. This is basically the entire archive of all of our articles, both written articles, release notes, video tutorials. You can sort by, kind of any workflow you are most intrigued about learning more about. Just as far as our latest release, we have a whole video series of all the latest features in Toolbag 5. You can go back to when we introduced the texturing system and library. There's a whole series of Learn Toolbag 4. A lot of that content is still applicable to the current generation. So yeah, definitely start our resources page to start diving deeper. And you'll see the free trial button at the top. Every new user, if you're looking to check this out for the first time, gets a free full-featured 30-day trial license. So definitely follow that link at the top of our website to get started with your account and claim your free trial. Um, and yeah, if you're looking to get involved with the community too, we have links to our subreddit. We have a Discord server that's nice and active. All the panelists here tonight are all active on our Discord as well to help answer any questions. So yeah, no, lastly, this was gonna go out in some newsletters too to those participants, but just want to share, like, we do still have a discount active for all the Realusion users coming into Marmoset. If you were interested in picking up I guess, with a character creator or like Realusion products in Marmoset, we're one of the few that still offers both the customer choice of perpetual and subscription. 20% off your choice of yearly sub or perpetual with that coupon code on the screen, CC2MSET. And yeah, they'll be active for the next several months, so feel free to explore the free trial and ready to pull the trigger and dive into it with your workflows. There's a coupon code you can redeem through our store.
Awesome. Yeah. Very important to know, everyone. We should have showed this at the beginning as well, but yeah,
Yeah,
for those of you who stuck with us, you're the lucky few who get this 20% off code here. Um,
we like to show features, not promos.
yeah, right. I think it'll be on the YouTube anyways, if anyone watches the YouTube
Very,
video to
yeah,
the end.
yeah,
Yeah, at the
very
very
true.
end. Yeah, that's your reward. Um, all right. Steph, Jordan, you guys want to sign out? Say anything? Any last words?
No, this is it. Pablo is absolutely rocked. This
Yeah.
was very, very cool.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Pablo.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you
that
very
was
much.
very, very, very good.
Yeah, amazing job, Pablo. And again, everyone, check out Pablo's YouTube channel. Lots of really cool stuff on there. I've personally learned a lot. So thanks for putting that up there for everyone to learn. And Pablo, anything else you want to say?
No, that's it for me. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. And yeah, if I couldn't answer anything at this in this webinar, and you're curious about something else, I also have a Discord community and I have a newsletter, so you can join the newsletter through the Pablander Academy, and that's where I can put all the tutorials. The one that I mentioned for CC5 to Marmoset is coming up tomorrow, so it's going to be in my YouTube channel, but if you go to the pablander.academy, it's going to be nicely formatted into like basically like a little course that is free, and then you can just watch all the videos. It has a transcribe or a transcript, and it has images, so you can basically follow along with videos, or you can follow along with text and images, all that good stuff. And yeah, just letting you know that keep an eye on that for tomorrow, because that's where we're going to share and release the last video of the series, which is a 7-part video series covering all the bits and pieces for that character that I demoed today.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, something to look forward to for sure. Thanks so much again, Pablo. And thanks so much again to the Marmoset crew for joining us. Really a pleasure to have you guys along, and thanks for answering questions in the Q&A while we were working through the live demo and stuff. So hopefully everyone got some good knowledge today. Thanks, everyone from Reillusion as well. Make sure you fill out the survey we're going to send out to all your emails after the webinar with the recording of the video, and get your 10% discount for the content store as well. So, yeah, we'll sign off. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are in the world. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
So yes.